So, one of the passages in the Bible that has always kind of puzzled me especially since I came into New Thought, is Matthew 18:19 through 20, where Jesus says, I say to you that if two of you agree on earth about anything that they ask, it will be done for them by my Father who is in heaven. For when two or three are gathered in my name, there I am in their midst. And at first glance, if you read it sort of literally, if you want to look at it that way, it almost sounds as if Jesus is saying that prayers are only answered when two or more people are praying together. And yet this seems to challenge one of our central unity principles, that each of us have direct access to God through prayer and meditation. Indeed, our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, used this singular prayer and meditation to heal herself of tuberculosis. She did this over a period of a couple of years, and there was no one else that she was praying with throughout this process. As others witnessed her remarkable healing, they sought her guidance on how they could do the same for themselves. And in 1890, she formed a small local healing circle that eventually grew into what we know today as Silent Unity, a 24/7 prayer ministry that has operated continuously for more than 136 years. And this prayer arm of Unity receives millions of prayer requests each year. So our history demonstrates that healing can occur both through our own prayer practice and through the prayers with others. We can experience this transformation both individually and collectively. I think that having that prayer energy of two or more helps accentuate and perhaps accelerate the healing process, and yet it's not something that is required in order for healing to unfold. Our history demonstrates that we can experience transformation individually and collectively. Science is now beginning to explore in greater and greater ways how prayer and meditation affect both individuals and groups of people praying, how an awakened heart impacts each of us and an entire group, emotionally, mentally, and physically. This scripture came back to me as I have been reading. I just finished not too long ago a book called The Awakened Brain by Lisa Miller. And her research suggests that all human beings are equipped and probably even designed with an innate capacity for spirituality, for this other part of this human journey. And that our brains become more resilient and robust when we engage this dimension of ourselves. Miller describes humans as fundamentally relational beings, that we're meant to be in this journey and do so in not a single way, but in a relational way. And when people become emotionally attuned, whether it's through prayer or meditation, music. Have you ever been at a music concert with a bunch of people and they were all really into it? It's a collective energy that affects our brains. Sometimes shared ritual, deep conversation, or a collective purpose. All of these things cause that group's brains and nervous systems to begin to synchronize. They're being able to measure this now in many studies. And this synchronization can include brainwave alignment, so we have similar neural rhythms, heart rate synchronization, emotional resonance. And according to emerging research, some of these effects may even extend beyond the physical proximity to each other. She cites a study that was done in 1987 by Dr. Jacob Greenberg. He's a neuropsychologist at the University of New Mexico, and he conducted a series of really interesting experiments. He brought two people into a room and instructed them to sit together and meditate for 20 minutes with that focus of intentionally creating a strong emotional bond between the two people that were sitting there. These were strangers, but they set this intention. And then they were placed in separate electromagnetically shielded rooms so that there wasn't, that it separated them completely, at least physically, and then watched as their brain activity was measured. And the EEG readings showed that their brain wave patterns often appeared to synchronize. It was like every time they set that intention again, they could measure and see how those brain waves synchronized together. In a different part of this study, they were, again, in these separate shielded rooms, they would flash a bright light into the eyes of one person. And it was at random times, over a period of time, a bright light would be flashed into this, and it caused this spike in brain activity. When the light was flashed into their eyes, the brain waves changed. And interestingly enough, the person who was sitting in the other room who was intentionally connected with them, who were not exposed to these flashes, showed corresponding spikes in their own brain waves about 30% of the time. Other studies suggest that, my mouth, and I guess my brain is not, all right. Other studies suggest that empathetically bonded people can experience a kind of entrainment or synchronization, similar to what happens when tuning forks or pendulums begin moving in harmony, seemingly without any outside influence on them. I wanted to show you this video today. It's really interesting to watch. And what you begin to notice is over a short period of time, while they all started out at different rhythms and at different times, they naturally begin to synchronize together. And within a minute, they are all operating at the same rhythm, moving in the same directions with one another. All right, Nick, we can move on from that. So we've seen this phenomena happen in many different ways in the physical world. We don't quite understand how it happens yet, but we can see that when they are in proximity with each other, they will naturally begin to move into the same rhythms with each other. And this research that's now being done for an awakened brain and awakened heart connection is showing similar results, even though we don't fully yet understand how exactly it works. And maybe you might have experienced this yourself. Have you ever walked into a room full of people, and they were all joyous, they had these awakened hearts, they were connected with one another, people that were grounded in peace and compassion and presence, and you walked in feeling anxious or fearful or upset. And yet, after sitting with them for a short period of time, something seems to shift within you. Your breathing slows to match the nice calm breath of the room, your thinking softens, your perspective becomes more open. And of course, it can happen conversely, because God just says, as Jess said earlier, yes. So if you walk into a room feeling happy and peaceful and compassionate, and you have entered into a crowd of an angry mob, if you hang out there long enough and you're observant enough, you can find yourself sort of being sucked into that energy, if you want to think of it that way. And now all of a sudden, where you were not angry before showing up, you have now taken on that same energy, those same kind of brain waves, that same kind of heart energy. In fact, we even have a name for it. It's called mob mentality. But awakened connection works a little bit differently. Research increasingly suggests that an awakened heart can literally support an awakened brain. It activates different parts. It activates this prefrontal cortex, which is our center of creativity, which is our center of being able to process things in a different way, to expand our perspective of things. And what they're now measuring is that an awakened brain tends to be healthier. In fact, they measured the amount of, what's the word of it? The amount of brain padding, if you will. I'm sorry for you scientists, you don't need to email me and tell me the exact word. It's actually thicker, it's more resilient. It enhances our ability to have greater grit and optimism and creativity and emotional well-being, while it gives us greater protection against addiction, trauma, anxiety, and depression. There are so many studies in this book, so I'm going to suggest to you, if you really want to go a little bit further with this, that you read this, or later I'm going to also give you another one you might want to explore. What they're finding is that the awakened decision is the wiser decision. When we perceive life through this awakened state, we become more creative, more collaborative, more ethical, and more innovative. I had an amazing experience of the power of this collective awakened heart firsthand. I've had it in different situations, but never quite this intensely, as I attended Dr. Joe Dispenza intensive week last year. I've shared a couple times with that. But if you can imagine, 2,000 people in one large room, all intentionally meditating, praying to awaken their own heart and brain. And even more powerful than that, I was able to witness what he calls coherence healing. So some people who had serious physical or emotional trauma and disease in their life were selected, and we were broken up into groups, and we, as a group of 8 or 10, spent an hour just collectively sending this healing energy to them, to sync our own brains and hearts together and offer this as a gift to this person who is seeking healing. And I can't tell you how tangible this felt. I cried through the whole thing for no particular reason. It created such an expansive heart that it just opened up channels that I hadn't even experienced. And the results have been many miraculous healings of individuals that the group was supporting. The awakened brain, Miller describes a practice that she calls a fast track to awaken connection. She calls it holding counsel. And I want us to collectively experience that this morning. So we're going to move into our time of meditation in the service. We're going to sync our own hearts and minds up in this space, but we're going to really focus individually in this particular time. So I would just invite you to get comfortable where you are. Sometimes it helps having that inward focus to close your eyes or just soften your gaze. Feel a sense of rhythmic breath moving in and out of the body. Just noticing the breath as it gently comes in and is once again released. The breath has the power to help bring a sense of regulation and coherence to both the heart and to the brain. So as we just allow that breath to bring us into this present moment, letting go of anything that's not a part of this now time. We can feel our bodies perhaps begin to relax. You might even want to envision that your heart begins to grow and expand and open like a lotus flower. And using that power of imagination, see before you a table. And to this table, invite anyone, whether they're living or deceased, who truly has your best interest at heart. Someone that you feel that deep connection, that bond of love with. And as each guest takes their seat, ask them, "Do you love me?" Take a moment as each guest is seated to ask each one that question. Do you love me? You can even invite the Christ presence to your table. And now invite your higher self, that indwelling eternal part of you, to have a seat at the table. The part of you that is greater than anything you have ever done or left undone. Anything you have or do not have. Any role that you've played or title that you hold. Beyond all of that is your higher self. And ask, do you love me? That's God saying yes. In fact, invite your higher power, whatever that is for you, God, divine presence, whatever name feels sacred to you, and ask, do you love me? Feel that sense of being held, of being connected, of being loved. And now, with all these loving and wise presences gathered at your table, ask, what do I need to know right now? What do you most want me to remember? And then simply listen. Now take a moment to feel this heart connection, not only with those gathered at your table, but with everyone in this room, everyone joining us through the live stream. Feel that sense of synchronized, loving connection. And as you bring your awareness back to the breath, once again moving in and out of your body, know that these loving presences are always ready to support you. You only need ask. They're ready to guide you with their wisdom. And taking one more collective breath, begin to bring your awareness back to this time and to this space. Once again, aware of your body and the chair supporting it, the sounds in the room, and whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. So just out of curiosity, how many of you were able to ask a question and receive some guidance back? A few people, yeah. It's not always easy to do this. It's something that I think at times takes a little practice, but I would encourage you, this particular exercise helps you not only to awaken your heart, but to again awaken your brain so that it can tap into, it can process, it can bring into your awareness the guidance that's always seeking to be shared with you. So I want to leave you with something to ponder this week. For hundreds of years, the Newtonian view of reality has suggested that thoughts are produced by the brain and emotions by the heart. In this model, we change our experience by changing our thoughts, replacing negative thoughts with positive ones in order to feel better. This has been the model of much talk therapy that is used in our country, that counselors will use. It has been the way in which, even in Unity, we have addressed challenging times in our life. I remember very clearly my first 4T class, Stretton Smith saying, change your thoughts, change your life. We talk about it, and yet we are learning that it's beyond just the thoughts that we think our brain produces. What if the brain does not create consciousness as much as receive it? What if our brains are less like generators and more like antennas, receivers or docking stations for a greater field of awareness? What if consciousness is not confined to the brain, but is in some mysterious way non-local, woven into the universal web of connection? And what if prayer is simply the practice of tuning in? It takes a little bit of expanding what we've known to be true in our own lives. And if this has been a little bit like outside of the box for you to even begin to grapple with, I would encourage you. The Awakened Brain is an easy read. It's not, while she cites a lot of different research projects that have been done around this, she does it in a way that a layman can read it and understand it. And I also would invite you to explore a semi-fictional book called The Secret of Secrets by Dan Brown. I think I had mentioned that like last year, but it is his vision of what non-local. So it means this: if our consciousness is not located in our bodies, it means that when our bodies die, our consciousness is still alive and well, because the two are not attached together. When the brain dies, it doesn't mean that our ability to be awake to life is diminished. It's just changed in the way that we experience it. So perhaps Jesus was not saying that we need others in order for prayer to work. Perhaps he was pointing to something deeper. That when hearts align, when minds unite in love, when there is that connection that generates compassion, and we can do it together in sacred intention, something powerful emerges between us. There is so much love and relationship and interconnectedness surrounding us at all times. You are part of the oneness of life, and prayer is simply an opportunity to tune into it. Well, it is our opportunity now to share of our financial good with this community. We are grateful for all of the flow of income that comes into this ministry and flows back out in those organizations that we support and tithe to. We are grateful to know that when we collectively pray, we have the power to manifest all that we need, all that we desire in order to continue to grow and to evolve together. So let us take what we offer today into our hands and into our hearts and bless it. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God.
All right, we're going to do the big circle. All right, everybody, let's stand up together. We're going to do a big circle around the room.
Conclude our time together with the prayer for protection. We're going to do it as call and response. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Together, wherever we are, God is, and all is well.